Hello, everyone. Welcome to Proven Inspiration. I do hope you're having a good day. I'd like to provide you with training today, and our topic today is for happily married couples or couples on their way to being happily married. So, the topic for today is what time is it? This is a topic that I do believe a lot of married couples really need to tap into, to listen to, and to think about what you're hearing. Because there's an ancient text that says there's a time for everything. And couples sometimes need to understand, you need to understand if you're a husband, if you're a wife, you do need to understand that there must be a time for everything. There's a time for laughter, there's a time for sadness, there's a time to have important discussions, there's a time to play. However, in relationships, couples often misread the time and it causes friction. So, if for instance, your husband is having a bad day and he's very quiet, and you don't know why he's quiet, you don't know why he's extremely quiet, but you're expecting him to laugh and to be the same person he's like his normal bubbly self, but that's not where he's at because he's having issues that he's still processing, he's still thinking about. But you, as his wife, you expect him to be playful and to be the man that you know him to be. That's not the time for that. Similarly, you could be a woman, and you're going through work stress, possibly emotional issues you're dealing with, and your husband expects the same sort of jovial nature that you would normally display. That is not the time for that. So it's important that as a couple that you get to understand what time it is. It's important that you learn to study each other. That's how you really understand what time it is. Learn to study your partner, because if you're married to this person, you've said I do to them, then they become your life study, they become your ministry, they become a focal point of your life. And so in order to be successful in your relationship, it's important that you study each other, that you figure out what makes your husband tick, that you figure out what makes your wife tick, figure out what times, perhaps in the month your wife is not exactly herself, figure out what sort of issues causes your husband to withdraw into himself and become isolated from you, become quiet. Learn to study each other. Sometimes, as particularly wives, you could really just be so concerned with what's going on in the here and now that as soon as your husband walks in through the door, you want to download and tell him everything that's been happening. Perhaps you're a stay-at-home mom. Perhaps you got home a bit earlier than he did, and you just want to just download and just pour into him and just tell him everything that happened. But that's not the time for that. Why? Because a lot of men need the time to relax, to figure out like where they are, because they've just changed spaces, they've left the working environment, they've come home, but just need a few minutes, an hour or so, to just get in touch with themselves, get in tune with themselves, get used to the new environment, which is their home. Women are very much different from men, so it's important that you know this, that you understand this. A good way to get into the habit, into the practice of studying each other, is to have a heart of selflessness. When you are someone who's selfless as opposed to being selfish, you will put the needs of your spouse ahead of your own needs. Yes, you've had a terrible day. Yes, you really need to offload. But because you're selfless, you're going to think, I'm not sure what kind of day my husband has had today. So let me just chill. Let me observe him. Let me see what he needs before I tell him what's happened in my day. That's selflessness. That is love. Okay? Because although you've had a bad day, your husband equally may have had a bad day. And if you just start to download and pour into him, you could just quite easily overwhelm him. Similarly, husbands, your wife could have had a really tough day, and normally she would do certain things around the house, but on this particular day, she hasn't. Instead of asking questions or throwing accusations at her, why not take the time to observe her and just notice whether there's something off with her? If maybe she's extremely chatty or extremely quiet, she's just not herself. Watch her, observe her, and then schedule the time. Because just because a person is experiencing something in the here and now doesn't necessarily mean that they want to talk about it right here, right now. There's a time for everything. There's a time to have serious discussions, and that time may not be at the very moment when the issue is being faced. So you may want to just say, okay, honey, I noticed you're not quite yourself today. Would you like to talk about it maybe sometime this week? And then let them tell you, okay? Because then they will know how they feel on the inside and whether they're ready to start to share whatever it is that is on their hearts. It's called selflessness. It's called consideration. It really simply is called love. So in order to love your partner correctly, learn to study them. And when you study them, you will be able to understand what time it truly is. Okay? Please feel free to share this video with whoever you think needs to hear it. Until next time, from my heart to yours, do take it easy. Bye.